What I'd buy with my first $1,000 isn't about flexing or chasing trends. It's about setting up leverage that actually changes your financial trajectory faster than just saving it in a bank account. And if you're expecting some magical get rich quick list, that's not what this is. Because $1,000 isn't life changing on its own, but the way you deploy it absolutely can be if you think strategically instead of emotionally. So the first thing I'd prioritize is something that either makes me more money, saves me money, or builds a skill that compounds over time, because anything else is just consumption dressed up as progress. And without that in mind, the smartest split of a first $1,000 usually falls into three buckets: tools, skills, and liquidity. And each one always a little very different role in how fast you can grow. And let's start with tools, because this is where most people overthink it and waste money on gear they don't actually need, instead of focusing on simple upgrades that increase the output immediately. If you're trying to make content, build a side hustle, or start anything online, your first $1,000 should not go into flashy equipment. It should go into reliability and speed. For example, a decent microphone, a reliable used laptop, or a basic lighting setup will outperform expensive upgrades you don't know how to use yet, because clarity and consistency matters more than polish in the beginning. And the second bucket is skills. This is arguably where the highest return on investment comes from, because no one can take a skill away from you once you actually develop it. If I had my first $1,000 again, I'd put a big chunk into learning a monetizable skill like copywriting, video editing, or sales, or basic coding, because there are skills that directly connect to income generation. And you don't need expensive degrees or courses for this, because in most cases, the best learning comes from focused practices and applying what you learn immediately in real projects. The third bucket, and one that most people ignore, is liquidity. It means having cash available for opportunities, emergencies, or moves that give you leverage when timing matters. Because the truth is, a lot of people stay broke, not because they don't earn money, but because they have no flexibility when something important shows up. So out of the first $1,000, I'd always recommend keeping at least a few $100s untouched. And not as savings you forget about, but as strategic capital you can deploy quickly. And let's put it into a real world breakdown so it actually makes sense. If I had exactly $1,000, I'd probably split it into something like this: 400 into tools that directly improve my output, 400 into learning courses or mentorship and real skills, and 200 held in cash for flexibility and opportunity. This kind of split works because it balances the growth and the stability, meaning you're not just spending blindly on stuff, but also not sitting completely idle hoping things change. And the biggest mistake people make with their first $1,000 or any $1,000 is treating it like spending money instead of positioning money, because the goal isn't to enjoy it in the moment. It is to use it to create more future income or opportunity. And once you start thinking in those terms, even a small amount like $1,000 becomes a powerful seed instead of just a temporary cushion. Another smart move is using part of that money to eliminate bottleneck in your life. Things that are slowing you down without you realizing it. And this could be better internet if you're working online, a used phone or computer that doesn't crash, or even better, organizational tools that save you time every single day. Because time is the one resource that actually multiplies everything else you do. If you save an hour a day with better systems, that's 365 hours a year, which is basically a second life in terms of productivity. Now, let's talk mindset, because how you think about that first $1,000 determines whether it changes your life or disappears with nothing to show for it. So, people who stay broke tend to optimize for short term comfort, while people who grow wealthier optimize for long term positioning, even when it feels slower at first. So instead of asking, what can I buy for $1,000? The better question is, what can I set up with $1,000 that pays me back later? And that shift alone is what separates people who stay stuck from people who are starting to build momentum. And momentum is everything, because once you get it, even small wins start stacking on each other. And one small investment leads to a skill, and that skill leads to an income, and that income leads to more investments. And suddenly, $1,000 was just the starting point of something way much bigger. And that's the real game if you're thinking practically. Another strong use of the first $1,000 is building a basic income stream, even if it's small at first, because the goal is proof of concept, not immediate wealth. And this could mean starting at a simple service like freelance video or editing, reselling items, or offering a skill locally that people already pay for. And the point isn't to maximize the profit instantly, it's to get experience, turning money into money. Coffee time. That's right, drinking out of a girly mug. It's because you will understand the loop, because scaling becomes a lot easier. Another underrated strategy is reinvesting into attention. You know, Meaning tools or systems that help you reach more people if you're building online. For example, basic editing software, scheduling tools, or even small paid boosts for testing content can help you learn faster what actually works. And this is not about buying growth, it's about buying data because data tells you what to improve. And data is what most beginners completely ignore, which is why they repeat the same mistakes over and over and over. And let's zoom out because the real takeaway from all of this isn't just how to spend $1,000. It's how to think about any amount of money going forward. And if you always divide money into categories like growth, skill, and flexibility, you'll naturally start making better decisions without overthinking every purchase. And over time, that consistency in decision making matters more than any single investment. So most people think they need a huge amount of money to start changing their life, but the reality is that small amounts, used correctly, are more powerful because they force creativity and discipline. A person with $1,000 who knows how to deploy it strategically will usually outperform someone with $10,000 who just spends without direction. And that gap only grows over time because smart decisions compound while bad decisions also compound in the opposite direction. So if you're serious about making your first thousand matter, you have to stop thinking like a consumer and start thinking like someone building leverage. Leverage is anything that increases your output without requiring equal input every time. And that's exactly what tools, skills, and systems are designed to do. And once you understand that $1,000 stops feeling small because you realize it's not about the amount, it's about the direction. And direction is what separates random spending from intentional building. And if you're looking for a final practical takeaway here it is. Don't spread your money too thin, but also don't dump it all into one thing without thinking. Balance is key because your first $1,000 should be about building momentum, not perfection. If I had to summarize it simply, I'd say this: invest in things that make you more capable, more efficient, and more flexible. Everything else can wait because the real power of money isn't what it buys you today, it's what allows you to build tomorrow. Once you get this mindset locked in early, even small wins start to stacking faster than you expect because every dollar starts having a job instead of being wasted randomly. So the next time you get your first $1,000 or even your next thousand, don't think about what looks good. Think about what builds something that lasts. That's how you turn a small amount of money into a real foundation. And once you build that foundation, everything after becomes easier and faster and more predictable because you're no longer guessing, you're building with intention. And that's the difference most people never figure out. And if you can internalize that early, even before you make your next thousand, you'll already be ahead of most people who never make the shift. Thanks for watching today. If you found value in today's video, please subscribe. Without a subscription, I can't grow here on YouTube, and I would love to be here for a very long time. Without your subscription, I can't do that. So if you found value, please subscribe. If you like this video to the right, also check it out too. It could also help you on your financial journey. And also comment down below. I respond to every single positive comment. And if it's negative, don't waste your time and don't waste mine. I'm just going to block it. Have a good day. Take care.